Adam, what's the ticker, man? Show me the ticker. That's all I need to know. What's your pig's name?
Petunia. Petunia to the moon is going to be the ticker of the day. Yeah, it's just like, dude, we're literally, we've talked about it a couple times now. Are we in peak? Have we peaked? Right. And certainly what was going on with Anson and Andrew Tate yesterday feels frothy, right? It feels like, Andrew's picking fights with everybody, trying to pump his coins. He picked fights with whoever, Iggy, and now he's moved on to Anson, and Anson, they both love it because they can pump their own tokens. And, it's just like, I said, wow, this is like the first best use case for SocialFi, right? It's like the battle of the tokens where the influencers, battle it out with their own tokens. It's really silly, but I mean, the people playing in the space want to catch that token early, right? And try and see what Anson's going to tweet about first. I think his was like Anson Daddy or something. It goes up to 7 million, 10 million. I don't even know, but you're just at the end of the day, how many of these are going to be around in 3-4 months? Like probably none. Right. So it's
my question is, does it matter? Does it matter if you hang around?
Probably not. Right? Probably not. If you're early, right, dude, if you're early, it doesn't matter at all. Right. You're home run winning. Obviously, the people who are launching these tokens, that's really the game, is to be on Pump.Fun and have these things kind of teed up where you and your buddies, basically buy the entire supply. It goes live first, and this rocket ships, and you make, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars on these things. That's like the real game.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to meme coins, what I'm noticing is the velocity of these things are equally distributed to the throughput of the chain.
Yeah.
Right. So Solana, a lot of these meme coins have a life cycle sometimes of literally less than 24 hours.
Dude, like less than an hour, like minutes, man. I mean, I'm telling you, I've watched ones go from live on Pump.Fun to on Radium live and dead all in the span of less than 20 minutes. Like, it is incredible. The cycle it's so fast.
Yeah. And then whereas you look at Bitcoin, where some of these meme coins literally never die. I mean, you have somebody who will deploy a meme coin, it doesn't mint out, and then like a year later, somebody says something that's related to the meme, and then it starts minting out, and then it's like revived again, right? It's a little bit of the opposite of these like community or these like attempted community takeovers of these like dead meme coins on Solana, and Ethereum has had a few as well.
Yep.
It feels much different on Bitcoin, and Dogecoin is kind of similar too with the RC20. I think they're here to stay, man. I don't know. I think meme coins are this like consumer app casino. And now that it's kind of heavily being tied to SocialFi and kind of, this like social consensus.
Yeah.
I think it's only going to continue to grow. There'll definitely be some life cycles. There will definitely be some hype cycles. There'll be some consolidation, right? Meme coins will probably die off. Everyone thinks they're dead. Something will happen. Somebody will create a new Pump.Fun, or some new country comes out and creates their own meme coin casino product and continues. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a crazy stat. I saw this about the United States, where the average home or the median home cost has risen 78% since 2021.
Yeah.
Which just makes it completely unaffordable. And so I think it's just meme coins are kind of this like byproduct. And I've seen people talk about this, right? It's kind of a byproduct of the younger generations just not having any liquidity to like live like this kind of like middle like this middle-aged life, right? Or this like middle of the road life. And so now everyone's just forced to kind of speculate to try to make it out, right? Make it out of this like crippling college debt, or even to be able to afford a home. I mean, you look at this, right? So if the average mortgage in America right now, and again, right, this is an international show, but I'm just speaking just from my own perspective of being born and raised in the United States. the average or the median home cost is like $3,200 for a mortgage, right? And so if you have, if you're making $5K a month off your salary, right, that's like 60% of your income.
Yep.
So at this point, you're like, well, I might as well just try to buy some shit coins so maybe I could buy a car or a house, right? Like what's and I've seen this growing. Chris and I've seen this growing up in Las Vegas, right? This is something that we've seen for 32 years going on, and it's no different. It's just now it's a much larger scale, to say the least. Chris,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your opinion on this. What do you think why do you think meme coins are taking off so much? Do you think they're here to stay? And yeah, what's your perspective on meme coins on Bitcoin versus Solana versus Ethereum?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obvious they're here to stay. I think it's becoming, a lot more akin to those social tokens that we talked about years ago. As far as like the nihilism and just like the gambling until you make it, I don't know how true that is. It's funny that like as home ownership cost increases, more people seem to want to buy homes than ever. They feel left out that they don't have one when they didn't even want one before. It's kind of like a different industry's type of FOMO. So, I mean, the numbers would just point to like renting and then having extra disposable income to then be able to gamble on the side or invest on the side, whatever you want it to do. But instead, these people want to dive into home ownership when it's like the most expensive that it's been in like 70 years. So that's just kind of how the human brain works. It's not always wired to make the most logical decisions. But I think that people just see easy money in the crypto space, and the crypto space is bigger than ever. So more people now see easier money than ever have before. I think that's just going to kind of continue until these things kind of play themselves out. You're at the very beginning of kind of like the hype cycle where you can kind of, there's a lot of good ideas that are being thrown at the wall today. Like we saw all the major protocols get built over the last 5 years. The chance of that many new massive protocols being built over the next 5 years, is much less than it was over the past few years. And that's how meme coins are today. Everyone's trying to find the next best meme. And so there's a lot of good memes that can kind of go the distance at this time. But with time decay going forward, that's not going to be the case. So then they'll have to find something else. But I think it's just human emotion. People are dramatic. I think life has a way of just being cyclical and balancing things out. So, once the liquidity dries up here, they'll just find something else to gamble on or invest.
I would echo with the home prices. Like, let's be clear, people FOMO into houses too, right? It's a slower cycle. It moves slowly in the way that Bitcoin's slow. And so their meme coin cycle is kind of slowed down, to your point, Jake. But trust me, everybody FOMOs into houses when houses were popping in, I don't know, 2006, 2007. And it was going crazy. I can't tell you the number of people I met here in Costa Rica who were just talking about flipping houses and flipping land in Costa Rica. Like people who were worked in kitchens in New York were talking about flipping houses. Like, I think it's just human nature. We look for opportunities to take advantage of systems or whatever the hot thing of the day is. And I mean, housing in the States has become this part of the American dream. There are a bunch of tax benefits of it. There's a lot of free money when it gets frothy. And, but people are smart and people will just move into areas that they think, oh, geez, there's an opportunity here, to make more money. And, house prices and inflation, it's not, I mean, it's inflation. That's the hard thing that people don't wrap their head around, that the house hasn't gotten tremendously more valuable, if more valuable at all. It's just inflation has inflated this thing to crazy numbers. I mean, my parents bought their house in Connecticut for $18,000 in 1970, right? It's valued at $2.5 million right now.
That's insane.
It's literally just, it's inflation, That's
They're
it.
the greatest traders on earth.
They literally are. They were. they sold too soon. They paper handed it at $400K. But yeah, the way it works, man. This is
So you're saying the American dream is the original meme coin?
Bro, I mean, I look at it as look, that foundationally has more use case and value, obviously, than some meme coin I popped today on Pump.Fun. But the thing is the same. like the FOMO aspect of it. Like you just said, it's slower in housing and this sort of thing, and there are a lot more factors which influence it. But meme coins are just like this pure play where it's just pure awareness. It's awareness. It's who it's connected with, and you can see on chain, well, there are people who are, manipulating this and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So you get that as well. But don't think the housing market isn't manipulated. Like everything's manipulated. And I think we're just waking up to this fact. And why not play in meme coins when like literally you can do 100x this morning if you catch the right one? It's just hyper finance, man. And so yeah, I don't know. I posted up top. It was one of the, I got good tractions on my don't fade whatever, or imagine. Oh no, I pushed the wrong one. But it was my imagine fading meme coins as money, right? I mean, it's like meme coins are the new money. The quicker we get there, I think the better off we'll be.
So one of the narratives, excuse me, that I've seen is that meme coins are attention tokens. I guess you could say everything's attention tokens, but if we go through this thought experiment with housing, you could say that housing was some of attention token because that was the narrative, was the American dream, and the American dream was built on the premise of having a house so that you can satisfy your wife and you can have a family, which then right, which then means that you're wealthy, right? You're wealthy in substance of life. And this is just kind of things I've been thinking about as I've been dabbling in meme coins, is like, what the hell is this thing even, right? I mean, meme coins have been around. Bitcoin is the original meme coin, right? But how do meme coins evolve over time is something I've really been thinking about, the sector of it. And then a big question is, and we'll dive into that here in a second, is do meme coins on different chains, or do the sector of meme coins on different chains change over time, or do they differ, is what I should say. So meme coins on Bitcoin versus meme coins on ETH, and the ETH L2s versus meme coins on Solana, because they are attention tokens and somewhat of a culture token, as people are saying. Do they differ over time, and do they evolve in a different way? Chris, what do you think about that proposition?
Yeah, I think that, everything on Bitcoin has just kind of had this narrative of being somewhat indestructible and long lasting. And so it really does appeal to that kind of collector's aesthetic. Whereas kind of something like Solana, something like Ethereum are definitely more kind of like high time preference, instant gratification, kind of, that's always been the narrative around there. And I think it really shows within the culture. So yeah, I definitely think that the way that meme coins will generally evolve on Bitcoin is going to be more in a collector's mindset than something like Solana or something like Ethereum.
I mean, just imagine Dogecoin, right? I mean, to your point about Bitcoin as being the original meme coin, and obviously Bitcoin was launched as like this as a currency, but you think about Dogecoin, the most well-known meme coin of all, and you talk to people who own Doge, they think of Doge as money, and we know that Doge has literally been used as money in like Africa and stuff. Like people actually use it as money.
A lot of things. Yeah.
And so, like, I look at Doge as like, this is like the true growth of what's possible. Doge is like that perfect example of what is possible for a meme coin. And I think, how that plays out over the next decade, I have zero doubt there will be others that follow that Doge cycle and probably are much more popular than Doge. And, and then become literally just money, and we've talked about that with like Doginals. Is it possible that Doji becomes like the hard money on Doge, right? Like that's possible.
The one community and token I've been really observing closely is Pepe, because Pepe really kind of sparked the meme coin run. Of course, there's predecessors, as we'd mentioned, but Pepe was launched at a time when the NFT community was down horrendous. It was kind of the peak of the bear market, or I guess we were moving into NFT NYC at the time. FTX had just collapsed, and it really captured everybody, right? This was before meme coins on Solana took off. You had the Pepe guys on Counterparty backing Pepe, and it was like, oh, the memes can really, I think there's like this universal idea that meme coins can really expand beyond just one blockchain. Because for a long time, it was just Pepe exists on Bitcoin. And that's it.
Yep.
And then it started moving over to Ethereum through a variety of ways. Emblem Vault helped facilitate that culture with taking Rep Pepe to Ethereum. And then you had this fungible token. And Pepe is obviously leading the charge. Everyone's kind of hopped on board here. And I'm watching kind of Pepe split into multiple communities. The biggest one here is really Pepe, part of the Pepe community's pivot to move towards Poly and H's platform with Magma and Pond. And right, it's become a little bit more of like this aggressive shilling, but also kind of this like the sub community kind of just aggressively attacks other communities. And you've seen now part of that Pepe community move to Pork, and now they have Pepe on Soul, but they're also building this idea of like a Memefi, which again, I have a close relationship with H because I've known him before. All this popped up, lives out in Las Vegas, and we known each other for quite a long time. Used to, I guess. Used to live in Vegas. So I'm sitting here and watching this like Memefi and watching kind of these like games that they're playing and how to pivot the attention towards this like DeFi type of product. And I find it pretty interesting. And I find that is kind of this like leading indicator that some of these meme coin communities will migrate towards something else, right? Once they get bored of pump.fun or whatever it is. I saw Ansem came out with Bullfi, I think it's called, right? Which is it's starting out as a trading bot, like a Telegram trading bot, but it's supposed to be some sort of like meme hub, I guess. And so you're seeing some of these leaders in this like meme run start building out products for these meme coins. And they're trying to now move the attention from just aping meme coins to saying, hey, you can ape meme coins, but you can also be a part of this like movement, which is part of something a little bit larger. And I think that type of trend will progress on these other chains as well.
I popped in a Remilio Milady space last night. Did you see that space going off? And just to listen to what's going, because I literally know very, very little. I mean, I know a few Milady holders, but not like huge into it. But they're that same sort of thing where it's like this, they're almost like a Pepe culture, like this internet subculture connected through NFTs and probably launching, I think they've launched some like maybe the Retardio token and stuff, but launching these, meme tokens around their culture. And I think that's only going to grow, going forward.
And we did see Degen on base create their own L3, right? And started that narrative. And so it's this idea of culture and attention. And if you feel that there's a strong ground there that's surrounding or gravitating around this one token, some of the leaders are going to say, hey, let's pivot this to this product where we can all mutually benefit. But then at that point, the question is it a meme coin anymore, right? Or is it a utility token?
Yeah.
As the meme in crypto goes, once the utility's added, it's down only from there.
Well, I mean, it's like, so is in that case, like taking the Remilio example, right? Are the Miladies and the NFT the utility token, right? Because they get the airdrops and that sort of thing. And then the meme coins just become the coins on top of it. I don't know. It all may be a race to zero in most cases, but obviously to break through and become, hyper successful like Dogecoin, it's a whole nother thing. Honestly, to me, it's like, I still don't understand the tokenomics of how Dogecoin is able to maintain its price when it's printing like literally like I don't know, 1.5 million tokens every single day. Like it's incredible that it's able to maintain price.
Yeah. We're all going in. Meme coins are popping off so hard that Robinhood literally bought a crypto exchange because their Robinhood crypto kind of meme coin sector was profiting $500K a day in fees. So you could say I think they've had it for about a year now, right? So they say all these meme coin fees literally almost funded the entire purchase of Bitstamp.
It's incredible, dude.
Absolutely insane. So the big question here then is, you see this happening on all these other chains, right? You see Robinhood had successful meme coin product. They bought a crypto exchange. You see Ansom's had a lot of success on Solana meme coins. He's building BullFi. You have the Pepe community that really just hyper started this whole run. And then you have Polly and H, and that community is building Magma, and they have Pond. What does that mean for Bitcoin, right? Does that happen on Bitcoin? At some point, we're in the just really in the early stages of this, but with, 3 times the amount of liquidity as the number 2 coin, right? How high will some of these meme coin communities go? But then eventually, right, do they pivot to something else? We see this with Pups is already kind of leading the way there, in terms of like branching out from pure meme utility to creating some DeFi products on Solana. And if you listen to Farmer Joe talking, definitely sounds like they're building some stuff to for Pups on Solana, and then maybe for some of these other meme coins. So you're saying, so from my stance here, they're leading this way in terms of taking runes and turning it into a little bit more of a DeFi product on Solana. So that's really interesting, right? How high can that go? The price has definitely been tanking for sure. I don't know if people like it or not, or the fragmentation of it, but they did recently. There was a burn of, I think 3%, 3 or 4% of the total Pups World Peace supply was burned because it was like 25% of Rune Pups owners didn't claim. And that just shows, we were talking about this before, that just shows, the general amount of participation, or I say the max amount of participation you're going to get on a migration or a claim or something is generally around 75%. The highest we've ever seen.
I mean, right.
If you're lucky. Yeah. I mean, right. We saw this originally with Mooncats trying to get wrapped onto Ethereum. They were really one of the first wrapped kind of collections ever. And it's still around 80%. And that was a pain in the ass multiple years later. The highest participation I've ever really seen actually is the D-Gods bridge. The first one, the first D-Gods bridge to Ethereum, they got like 90% or something.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough to get people to participate in this type of stuff, because a lot of people just generally aren't paying attention, because you have to shift your focus in so many different places.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what'd you say it was? They got, how much did Pups get? What percent were left on the table? Like a quarter were left on the table?
So yeah, so the Rune Pups NFTs, they were allocated a certain, I think they were allocated, my numbers might be off, but they were allocated like 20% or 25% of Pups World Peace.
Yep.
And only 75% of Rune Pups owners claimed their Pups World Peace on Solana or on Runes.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's like, well, I mean, some of it is like, I don't know, I've gotten some stuff for my OCM. And like, I just don't, I didn't want to connect it to I was like, I just don't want to connect my wallet. You just all these sort of reasons why people do it, or you just miss it, right? Like whatever, we all miss that. You didn't miss it, but most of us, we missed that pizza thing, and whatever, you're, like you said, you're not paying attention. It's only for 24 hours and it's over, right? You missed it. That pizza thing, I think, was a big miss for, I wouldn't have been a huge, participant, but I know some people who really missed out, man, like really missed out, and we're bummed.
Yeah, we'll go into pizza here in a second, because there is an interesting narrative, and maybe we'll just dive into it right now. So pizza is currently at $6.42. This thing is just literally, I have it here pulled up on the live stream. This thing is literally just slowly chugging on its way up. Like if you look at this chart here, it looks like a perfect cup and handle here, right? So you got the handle. You know what that chart pattern is?
Yeah, yeah.
So you got this, right? So you got the cup right here.
Yeah.
And you got the handle. If you were a trader if you were a crypto trader in 2017, this is like one of the like most popular kind of patterns to look for, because then it just literally gigamoons. Today, HTX and Poloniex listed pizza. Both of those exchanges are owned by Justin Sun, and their official partner of Unisat. So I think that was kind of obvious. I found it kind of interesting that I was looking at the Poloniex listing. They're incentivizing deposits with USDT because Unisat airdropped it to everyone. They didn't keep any of the supply. So they're offering with USDT. HTX didn't offer anything. Obviously, Poloniex is a little bit smaller, so they have to offer some sort of incentives. But these are things that you'll probably see larger exchanges offering for Dog when they list Dog. I had a bunch of replies that when I was posting about pizza earlier, they're asking why Dog wasn't listed. And honestly, I just think a lot of these exchanges haven't built rune support yet, is really, I think, what it comes down to. I looked at both HTX and Poloniex, and they both had Ordi listed. They both had an Ordi spot market listed. So they already had BRC20 support. So it seemed it's probably pretty easy for them to just literally flick a switch on from their partners. And I was listening to Leonidas talk yesterday on a Latin, or I guess South American podcast, and he was mentioning the same thing. Is he said from the exchanges that I've talked to, for them it's a technical hurdle to add rune support, and so they're all just slowly building it out. So I think it's a little bit more of a matter of time. The thing here, which about pizza, and you could say pizza versus Dog, I've seen a lot of people talking about, it's not right to push these up against each other, right? It's not Dog versus pizza, or it's not the East versus West, but I'm honestly seeing clear signs of a cultural difference. Sure. I mean, you have HTX and Poloniex and a few others that are from the East are adding, Unisat support. You're seeing, if you type in pizza or the ticker pizza on Twitter or X and you just look through, it's literally all Chinese character posts for the most part, whereas Dog's mostly American and Latin America now. I don't honestly think it's that big of a deal. I mean, cultures want to surround things, right? Just like Solana meme coins, right? Or base meme coins or whatever. Communities form around things. And just because it's all on Bitcoin doesn't mean that, everyone has to agree on everything. Casey's also came out and said that he wasn't going to add Chinese characters after they asked for it. So maybe they feel a little burned, right? I don't know. Or Unisat just needs to pump the fuck out of this to get some attention back to the RC20. At the end of the day, look at, so we have this pulled up here on the live stream. You look at any other 5 ticker on BRC20 is literally pretty much dead. There's like no volume on any of these at all, right? There's like 5 listings. And even if you look at BRC20 on if you look at the 4 byte BRC20, there's also not a crazy amount of price action, right? You have, for Ordi, you have 7 sales yesterday.
Come on. Are you serious?
You have 6 sales the day before.
Bro, sell it all today. And that's $1 billion coin. I mean, come on.
$1 billion, yeah.
Bro, I can't believe people aren't running for the exits, man. Holy smackers, bro. Holy smackers. That's crazy. I mean, when I saw that with like Doggy, I'm like, oh, but it's, nobody knows about this. It's like, it's 20 of us in this Twitter space who know about this, but everybody knows about Ordi, and there are only 7 sales yesterday. Holy cow, man.
Wizard, to be fair, looks like most of it. So Wizard, it looks like there was about 25 sales yesterday. To me, but Wizard's also migrating, right? So a lot of the culture of BRC20 is left, right? So I think with the 5 characters, you do have Track here. So Track has, let's see, about the same 25 native sales. This would tell me one of 2 things. Either, BRC20 really is dead, or most of the trading has just moved to centralized exchanges because the trading experience of BRC20 is quite terrible. It's quite bad, right? It's quite bad. So it's really going to come down to, I think, with BRC20, the alliance of Domo and the Layer 1 Foundation, Best in Slot, and Unisat to really build some culture back to this. Unisat has came out and they're doing their BRC20 swap module, and Benari, I believe, is leading the new BRC20 2.0 design. where they've said that they're working on, again, this is unconfirmed. Well, this is what they said. Who knows if this is the final product? But they're going to attempt to put the EVM inside of BRC20 instead of a JSON file. And if they manage to do this, I think this would be, really bullish for BRC20, because if you could put the EVM inside of BRC20 instead of a JSON file, you just unlock like like tons of additional functionality and a lot of like self-executing functions where you can basically remove the transfer inscription, because you could just make the transfer inscription just self-execute on itself. Right. And I think that would improve. At the end of the day, I don't think you're going to compete one-on-one with runes for a simple trading experience. I think you need to add something new, something different that will bring some attention back, and programmability could really be that.
Let me ask you, is there a difference? So if you check out Ordi right now, and then you compare it to the Ordi price on whatever Binance or whatever, it's the biggest exchange that it's listed on, is there a discrepancy in price, or are they the exact same, in price? Because that would tell me, okay, if there is true liquidity happening on exchanges, which my gut tells me there's really not. But if there were, we know that the price would be different and people would be moving it back and forth to exchanges to take advantage of that, right?
Yeah.
So like, what's it say? How much does it say? How many transactions?
So it says $53 on CoinGecko, and it's almost $55 on the native market. So that means that the sell pressure, and you look, there is actually a recent sell-off in the last few hours. So I guess that's the exchange activity pushing it down.
Yep.
And then the native market is slow to react because the transfer inscription takes forever to list it.
Yeah.
If you look at the market activity here, so
there was what, 250,000 in theory on trading yesterday on that exchange.
Yeah, so there's 100 million on Binance, 50 million, 57 million on OKX, and then Gate. So it's all happening on Binance, which makes sense. I mean, I think this is why people are so bullish on Binance listing dog, right? Binance centralized exchange volume is 40% of Ordi trading volume, and OKX is 21%.
So they're saying almost basically $200 million worth of trading yesterday, or in the last 24 hours. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's the spot market, right? You have perpetuals where this is even much higher. So look at the perpetuals. Binance Futures is trading $650 million in the last 24 hours of Ordi. These are just people who are doing like leverage trading, right? That's basically what it is. And OKX is 420 million.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, so I mean, dude, look at this. Has got to be close to $1 billion in leverage trading on Ordi in the last 24 hours.
I mean, that just shows how bad the native experience is. There's like, there's $30 of trading natively, basically zero. I mean, it's incredible. That's really incredible.
Why do you think they went with a 5 byte for pizza? What do you think their rationale there is?
I would say it's honestly, I think they're trying to reignite a narrative. So 5 byte was actually the first protocol update that ever happened to BRC20. So it was 5 byte coincided with the pre-mine function, which also coincided with like a burn function. So if you want the pre-mine function, you have to mint a 5 byte. And I think pizza's right. It's an easy it's an easy narrative. And if you actually look at the stats of pizza, right, they inscribed this on March 31st, which means, they've probably been thinking about this for months beforehand. So you could say, in theory, they've probably been working on this pizza narrative for 6 months, maybe at the time. And in my opinion, I think they're just trying to bring attention back. At the end of the day, Unisat, they tried to do runes. They were 3 or 4 days before, or they launched their runes marketplace 3 or 4 days before Magic Eden. They had some cenotaph issues, and some runes were being burned, and Magic Eden just came in and just ripped it away from them. And so really all they have right now is BRC20 and this like gaming initiative that they're doing with like the BitBoy, Game Boy thing and Uniworlds and a few other things. The cool feature here, which I here pulled up on the live stream, and this was something I've been talking about for like a year, is the ability to trade the deploy inscriptions. So what you see here is that, and I think this is really, really cool, actually. I think this actually does unlock some unique features. You can basically pre-mine the entire ticker and then go sell it on the open market to somebody. Kind of similar to what Emblem has done in the past, where people would sell their counterparty asset, the ownership of the counterparty asset, in a vault to somebody. This is kind of like the native version of that.
That's interesting. I did that with one of the SRC20s I launched. It. Remember, I put it directly into an Emblem vault, right? And so that's interesting that that can happen natively now.
Yeah, it's a huge unlock, right? I guess the whole issue is like, can they bring attention back? Like, I guess this would be a question. Maybe I'll ask Chris this question. You know, if pizza, let's say, runs to $1 billion, which would put it around a $50 kind of USD price, do you think that would interest builders to come build on this new BRC20 5 byte? We'll just say it's BRC20 2.0, or do you think DGen just dump it and move back to runes?
Yeah, I think it's just liquidity game. So I think once liquidity is kind of siloed in one of those ecosystems, it's just like a flywheel that kind of builds off of it. If I were someone like Unisat, I would find some of these earlier tokens and I would find a way to kind of start the flywheel of building communities around them. Those are the most historical fungible tokens on Bitcoin. So you have just like go through the top 100, find good tickers, and I would kind of start really kind of building out communities in between them individually. That on top of building, you know, bringing liquidity from something like pizza, I think that's how you really kind of jumpstart the ecosystem. So I'd like to see something like that.
Yeah, I agree as well. So it has 125,000 holders. The top wallet has 381,000 pizza. This looks like an exchange wallet because it has a 1 in front. A 1 in front of the address, so it's a legacy address. And then you say the next one is 0.33%. So distribution's pretty good. A lot of people did make a bag off this. I actually got a pretty good sized claim as well, which was kind of nice. So we'll see how high it goes. But you know, I'm generally interested. My thing is then, you know, maybe 2-3 months from now, when you have BRC20 2.0 come, if there is an EVM inside of this inscription, and then you have this BRC20 swap module, and then the EVM can somehow eliminate the transfer inscription requirement, and you have some new functionality, you know, maybe that's where some of the attention goes. And East versus West just keeps pushing the price up against each other. And that's all obviously what you want, right? You want the timeline fighting against each other to push the price up for both of them, right? Because then it just generally adds new interests. And I think that's kind of like how meme coin warfare kind of is. Like you saw this yesterday with Ansem and Andrew Tate fighting. The community launched like 50,000 I don't know, it was like 50 tokens or something were launched, and within like a few minutes of the feud, all relating to kind of the feud in unison, right? And the whole idea is to kind of push those up as I guess like a tote of support, something like that.
It's crazy.
I don't know, man. Yeah, BRC20 is interesting. It's still a lagger. Moving back over to runes today, Dog had a 30% pump or something like that. Still going. I found it interesting that, you know, Bitcoin is supposed to be an inflation hedge, and it pumped based on the idea that inflation is decreasing. Right.
I mean, well, we've seen
that's not a meme coin.
We've seen that Bitcoin, like the idea of Bitcoin is that it's supposed to be an inflation hedge. It's supposed to not be tied to the US dollar. It's supposed to be, you know, float freely from the existing financial system. And when the existing financial system, you know, implodes, Bitcoin's supposed to do great. But we have not, that has not been the history of Bitcoin. And so maybe one day it does decouple, but it's very much tied to the, you know, kind of all risk on assets. It's like when the U.S. economy dumps, we've seen Bitcoin dump too, right? So it's not, still looking for that thing that goes in the opposite direction. Haven't found it yet. But yeah, Bitcoin, it's crazy, man. Who knows how this shit works? It's great. I don't even know. Did it drop? Did it get to 50,000 yesterday, or was I being trolled?
It was a troll.
Yeah, I don't see. That's the thing. I don't even watch the price, right? I have my Bitcoin. It's there for a decade. I have my Ethereum. It's there for a decade. I don't watch like the price of it. I don't really care, but I understand people who do.
Yeah. Yeah. So here, look at the dog chart. Dog's obviously leading runes by a long shot. It's up almost 20% today. On that news, Bitcoin pumps 20%, or Bitcoin pumps 3%. Dog goes 20%. And then you have some of these other runes that are literally crushing it. Bank of Nakamoto dollar is now the number 2 rune. I don't count Fihu because that's a 99.99% pre-mine. Turns out Bank of Nakamoto dollar is Jack Liu's project. I listened to the spaces yesterday. Jack Liu, who is the creator of OrdSwap, the BSV guy. He also has some Doginals projects, which I don't want to release information because I don't know if it's public yet. But apparently he's moved on to this Bank of Nakamoto dollar. It's got a lot of interest. It's I don't even know how to describe this. It's a play off of Athena. So I'm going to try to describe this when I was listening to it yesterday. So if you don't know what Athena is, ETH, it's like a synthetic, stable coin where they short ETH and they take the yield for the stable coin or something like that. Chris, do you know exactly how Athena works by chance?
Yeah, so you basically just go delta neutral on the position and then collect the funding. So if funding is to the short side, then you would open up short against your collateral, delta neutral, and just collect the funding across exchanges. So it kind of mellows out the spikes in the volatility that we see for funding through all these derivatives. And then it kind of just mellows out the volatility across the markets too, because there's a lot more liquidity. So it kind of kills two kind of necessary evils in our industry.
Good. Perfect explanation. I knew you'd know. So they are
trying to do that with this, somehow connecting it to.
So they're basically backing the stable coin. So there's Bank of Nakamoto dollar, and then there's NUSD, which is Nakamoto USD. And so they're backing NUSD with Athena E because they're taking that delta neutral, collecting the yield on it. And as I'm explaining this, a lot of people are probably thinking, wow, this sounds a lot like Terra Luna.
Yeah.
Right? It sounds a lot like it. It's definitely a different mechanism here. And so the Bank of Nakamoto dollar, there's a few things that I'm missing here because I was trying to listen to Jack explain it yesterday, and there were so many components to it. But he was basically saying, I guess in the Athena ecosystem, there's like Athena points that you could do by participating in it. This is like the Bitcoin speculative play, I guess, on the Athena points of some capacity. So you're like collecting the yield and the points, but you're attempting to build a stable coin. And there's probably a few components that I'm missing here. I mean, Jack at the end of the day worked at OKX. He worked at Circle, right? So he knows the back end stuff. He's a little bit of a controversial figure in some capacities because he's been caught lying multiple times on certain things, right? Or maybe just not being completely truthful. And also OrdSwap, he just bailed on everybody on OrdSwap, if you remember. And a lot of people lost a lot of money because some of the assets got locked on the platform, and there's like some other bitmap things that happened to it. But people like this. The degens like it. Granted here, the amount that's trading on the open market, I think, is less than 10% of the total supply. So it is a little bit, I wouldn't say manipulated. It's just it's not the full FDV that people are aware of. And one thing that I had noted a few days ago, Magic Eden, actually got one of the Magic Eden guys responded to this. the market caps on Magic Eden are the full FDVs. It's not the market caps like you see listed on these exchanges, because it's really tough to identify what the circulating supply is versus the total supply. It's really more of a trust me bro situation. And Gnarl, who's the lead, I think he just runs like the Bitcoin Magic Eden marketplace. He said this is the exact reason why they use FDVs. It's impossible to know what the circulating supply is because it's a trust me bro situation. So just keep that in mind, is when it says that, you know, BAMC is a $200 million market cap now, right? Just keep that in mind, that's the full FDV, and that's not just the circulating supply, which I believe is around 10%. What's up, Dogfather?
Hey, GM. Sorry, I cheated you with another space because I was invited. I have to go.
All good, bro.
So you just need to repeat everything you said, because otherwise I will repeat stuff. So I just saw the topic like with BRC20 versus rules. And I was like, oh man, that's an awesome space. That's exactly what people are talking about since the pizza, you know, the 5-character drop, because that was kind of like giving some life back, or at least a bit life back to the BRC20, you know, ecosystem. But, you know, my take on that is, I mean, bro, we're so early. I think it doesn't make any sense to fight over some bags. I mean, there are pros and cons for each ecosystem. So most people have everything except me. I was traveling. I don't have any pizza because I didn't have my wallet with me. I was just like looking at, oh, this is becoming even a more expensive vacation than I thought, right? Damn, I mean, this always happens.
The most expensive vacation ever, man. You fumbled, you know, deck of millions of dollars.
Yeah, I was not too active on Uniswap, but on Unisat, but still, you know, it is like you want to detox. You don't take your laptop with you. You log out, and then it's like, damn. I mean, there's always like great timing. But besides that, I think it's good to actually have some competition, and that the BRC20 camp is trying stuff, because that's good for the ecosystem. And of course, I'm completely with Leo, who is always stating that, I mean, there will be one dominating fungible token standard. I think this is relatively clear, and there are a few facts speaking in favor of, you know, BRC20. So they were first. So they have like Domo with on the camp. They have like you know, Unisat there, and on the other side you have like, okay, Runes. This is like the official token standard by, you know, the ordinal core devs. It's in the protocol. It's not a fungible token standard on top of a non-fungible token standard, which is kind of like adding a lot of complexity and indexing issues, but it's like a separate, you know, protocol, leaner, and, you know, probably more efficient. It's backed by the biggest, you know, NFT exchange like Magic Eden, and we will see how this plays out once the bigger Rune tokens are also listed on Binance, OKX, and the like. And I think at the end of the year, we will see who is like, you know, the number one. Right now, it's still a bit early. Yeah, so that's my take on that. But without any hostility, I think this is just a good situation to have some competition. I think it was good for BRC20s that Runes came around, and I think it's also good for the Runes ecosystem that BRC20 camp is not just like waving the white flag and just saying, whoa. So we're all running, you know, and you know, keeping all the infrastructure, you know, letting all the infrastructure sink. You know, this is also like driven by the huge backs by some whales and the big investments by, you know, players like Unisat. So you have to fight, right? I mean, you cannot let go. So it will be very interesting to see. And with the Bank of Makanoto coin, I would be always pretty cautious if the volumes are low. Could be that a bunch of wallets are just, you know, pumping that a bit. So do your own research. The volume is already a bit bigger than in the earlier days, but it's still relatively low. So yeah, do your own research. Don't, you know, ape into these types of tokens too hard.
Yeah, I wish. So Farmer Joe hosted a Spaces with Jack Blue yesterday, and they talked about it. I don't think it was recorded. I do believe part of the Bank of Nakamoto supply, there's supposed to be some sort of like residual rewards where you lock up the Bank of Nakamoto for 9 months and you get 30% APY or something like that. I don't. It was a little complicated. But Dogpile, I actually believe the opposite in terms of one dominating fungible token standard. I actually think there will be multiple. Runes at this point will probably capture the majority just because it's mostly speculative trading. But I do think over time, there will be different fungible standards that are used for different use cases because of Bitcoin's lack of standardization, and different communities are going to optimize for different things. Like, for example, BRC20 or BRC 420, which is like for ERC 1155 assets. Right. You have Counterparty that's still rebuilding, right? Will that end up taking some fungible token volume? You have SRC20 that's still building. Both of those systems, though, are still kind of lacking. But BRC20, right? If they do this like EVM integration, which we've been talking about, it could be a fungible token standard that just takes on a whole different narrative, but still has a lot of adoption and interest because of whether some people are optimizing for functionality or just the cultural difference. Some people just, right? A lot of people are stubborn in this community, just across the world, I should say. And some people will stick with it just because they hate the other side of it. We see the tribalism in the spaces. Pretty uncanny at times. What do you think?
Okay, so let me fine tune. So then I think for certain token use cases, there will be just one, dominant one, because it's like the network effect. So let's say for meme coins, it's relatively clear that runes are like leading because it's like where you find the largest ones. I mean, I would also not forget about the track tap, guys, because they just sit on tons of money. I think 12 million or so. They will definitely build something, so let's not forget about them. There will probably something like a DeFi, protocol that's, if it's not runes, then it may be something else. And tell me other things you can do with tokens, right? I don't think that you need it for like additions or so. The big kind of like segments are meme coins. It's like DeFi, maybe something like a stable, and I don't know, maybe there's something else I'm not having in the back of my mind right now. And then we will see who's providing the best solution for the needs.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're right with Tap. They're focused. The Tap protocol is focusing on DeFi. They're even building like some sort of bridge where you could wrap any of your Bitcoin assets and take it to this Tap ecosystem, right? You would assume then meme coins will go to Tap if that's the case, or if Udi's right and everyone just goes and uses Cat VM and just does everything natively instead, is a complete possibility as well. But at the end of the day, it's really fun. And again, I said this earlier before you joined. If BRC20 is going to go one-on-one with the trading experience with runes, they're just going to lose. It's pretty cut and dry that one is a much more improved trading experience than the other. I want to go on one segment right here, and then I'll call on you dogs. One thing I've been looking at to kind of see what's gaining interest. I'm Magic Eden. I'm just looking to see like what has the most trades in a 24-hour period. Dog Go to the Moon is literally number one every single time. If it gets flipped in one day, it just goes right back to number one, which is insane to me because it's also the leading runes by FDV by like 3 or 4x from second place. But there are some other ones, these community meme coins that weren't pre-runes that are starting to pop up. I would say the most popular one that I've seen by far is $1 Billion Cat. And you're starting to see some of this like mimetic nature where they have these like they have these Bitcoin glasses, which is just like a upside down B, which is pretty smart. And if you look at this, it's literally been up only for the last 2 weeks from 0 to $40 million market cap. And I'm starting to see it consistently showing up in the most traded in the most trading or the most traded of most transactions, I guess I should say. And it's popping up on the timeline. You have Cook the mempool, which the speculation is that this was deployed by Rune Dev or the RSIC team, or that it's related to RSIC in some capacity. I think it's and it's rune number 37. I think it's like a child inscription of one of the early assets that Raktoshi owns or something of that nature. And it's still minting out. There's I think still 7 days to mint, and it's still being traded on the open market, which is kind of wild.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then you have Psycho Hamster, I've seen, or Seiko Hamster, right? Has been honestly getting some traction. And then
it's funny, those glasses I have seen, I had no idea it was associated with the meme coin as well. But just taking the MOG example, obviously they've just copied MOG there. It's really smart because you can use it on everything, so interesting, that one.
Yeah. And then obviously the Donald Trump, right? The political meme coins are just on every chain. That's not going to go away at any point. Lobo's an interesting play. I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't have a lot of expectations of this one, even though it's been, even though it's backed by Buoyant Capital, who's apparently like a top 10 Binance trader, and they have a lot of capital. Free airdrop, sometimes they just let loose, but they've come in and they're doing some staking program where you can stake your Lobo and you'll get the trading profits of this top Binance trader. And it's literally the beta to Dog. I saw Dog was up 20%. This was up 50% at one point today. And it's definitely building a community. I still hold all the Lobo that I was airdropped. I haven't sold any of it. I haven't sold any runes actually. But it actually took me by surprise that it's been able to stay and had some staying power here. Even with everything else going on. It's at a $60 million market cap. So I think it's like in the top 6 or 7.
Wait, where are my Hooked on Roonies up there? I thought Hooked on Roonies were pumping, man. Shouldn't it be
he hasn't been on the spaces in a while. I don't know. Maybe he's like out in the gutter somewhere. He's just hooked too much. He's hanging out in the gutter.
I love the copies because then I'm seeing $1 billion Dog, and it's like, bro, we are copy paste machines, man. It's like you just realize that humans literally, we look for patterns, we repeat patterns. That's what we do.
Rune's Gone Wild. That's a funny one. Age of Aquarius. So this one was deployed by Aaron, who's Casey's girlfriend, significant other. I don't know what the capacity of them are, but this one caught some attention recently because they talked about it in their recent show. And then, at this point, and I'm starting to see this, and we've talked about this for a little while, Rune's utility tokens, I do think will have their day. I'm seeing Farmer Joe talk about this. We've talked about this a few times, right? At what point does the meme coin pendulum swing the other way, right? Last cycle was all perceived utility, right? All these NFT projects, I'm going to build this utility, these DeFi tokens from last cycle. We're going to do governance and all these different things. Turns out a lot of those literally didn't do anything. Turns out on-chain governance is not in its maturity yet, I guess you could say.
Basically sucks.
Yeah. Right. You have DAOs that are suing Martin Shkreli for copyrights or whatever it is. And right. So I think this cycle is just everyone's like, well, if this utility is just a meme, fuck it, let's just start aping meme coins. I do think at some point it's going to go the other way and people will actually finally implement some utility, right? Or maybe we just run back the perception of utility again. From what I think towards the end of this summer is when you'll probably see a lot of these project runes, or these runes that are associated with projects that were all inscribed in the sub 10K area, probably start launching. You see, I saw like the Rex blockchain launch. You have the Liquidium token. Magisat came out today and said that they were airdropping 100%. So you'll start seeing these popping up probably towards the end of the year. And I kid you not, there's probably 50 to 100 in the sub 10K. I literally wrote a whole blog post about it. You could go to my website, jakeallen.com, and then go to my Medium post, and you could literally look at all of them. And pretty clear as day. There's some pretty big teams in there if you actually take a look, and they're not just going to not do anything, right? So at what point then do you have the rotation of meme coin profits to some of these project-backed tokens is something to consider at some point in time. Because Adam, we talked about this yesterday. You do believe that the meme coin narrative is starting to kind of lose a little bit of staying power. Why do you think this is?
I think it's more just, people you get burned out, trading meme coins, you just get burned, right? And even if you make money, you still get burned out trying to look for the new ones. And it's just more like people get tired, and so people lose interest, price goes down, people lose more interest. Not to say a lot of people I talk to who are way smarter than me when it comes to like this stuff tell me, oh no, this is just, we're in the cycle and it'll come back, and it'll come back even harder. And so they're kind of placing their bets right now for when the stuff is actually going low, of the stuff they believe is like, the Mogs and the Pepes and whatever, the ones they think are the winners this cycle. Now is when they're buying, right? When everybody's tired, everybody's getting burnt out. Now is when they're buying, because they feel like there's going to be another run up here. And that absolutely could be true. And I hope it's true. But it could not be true as well, right? We could just be running, as we saw with Dogecoin in 21. Like Dogecoin went absolutely bonkers and then crashed until, very recently, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's just like everybody's got to do their own research and dive in and, place your bets accordingly, like how you feel it's going to go.
Yeah, I guess the big question is, and somebody keeps asking on the live stream where to buy these coins. They've posted like 4 times. Magic Eden.
What coins? Oh, Magic Eden. Yeah.
Magic Eden is where to buy it. There's like 5 of the same posts. Where the hell do I buy these coins?
Yeah, so if you're looking at, you could be on Binance, I guess. Binance is probably the best place. You can actually have better liquidity over there. If you're buying,
but there's only a few there's no runes on Binance. So.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking of Ordi. Yeah. Yeah, I guess
it's all over the place. It's all
over the place, bro. I guess the thing is with like runes, and that's going to be interesting to see like what happens to Dog when it's on an exchange, right? I guess one day it'll happen. We'll see.
One more thing, and then I'm gonna call on Dogs here. Right, the meme coins versus utility coins. Meme coins, because of the volatility of it, you have to pay attention to these coins, because one day you could wake up and it's down 90% and you're like, what the fuck, right? Yep. Whereas the utility, I think the utility coins, it's just more for a passive person, or maybe somebody who's burnt out, where you're like, hey, I'm just putting my faith in the team to build some value to this. I don't have to pay attention to it 24/7 and know when to go long, go short, what the antics are, why is Ansem boxing Tate, whatever the case is, right? Ansem lost a fight, like all these things. You're just like, I'm going to put some capital behind a team and just let it slow roll upwards.
Dude, I mean, you think about it, dude. How many times have we said, I don't know, I just saw a post by Pauly, right? It's like you realize this is what the professional like pumpers of meme coins do, which is like they launch something, they create controversy around it, bring attention to it. It's the current state of social media. But anyway,
you know what I've noticed is one thing, because of my consistent posting of, I guess it's more just coverage, I guess, of runes, but because I put the tickers like in the tweets, every day I'll wake up and it's like, you've been added to the callers list, you've been added to the meme coins list, you've been added to this list, and it's like, right? It's like this is exactly what Bitcoin Maxis hate is. They call shitcoiners promoters, right? Remember they call them token promoters or coin promoters. And I could see why, but it's just funny now. Just like for me, it's just more just covering the space and anything. But everyone's like, "Oh, he's the meme coin caller."
No, you're shilling meme coins now, Jake. Yeah. You're shilling the bags. It's like, no, we're talking about crypto. This is what's happening in crypto right now. Like, if you're ignoring what's happening, bro, you're not in crypto. Like, this is it. This is what's dominating the timeline. If you're not commenting on this, you're not even in crypto right now.
Truth. What's up, dogs? Thanks for being patient.
Hey, Jim, guys. What's going on, Adam? What's going on, Jake?
What's up, man?
Congrats on the launch of Emblem. Yeah, just wanted to chime in and on the conversation. BRC20 versus runes. To me, I see BRC20 as more of a current meta the last few years, or a historical provenance aspect of doing fungible tokens. I mean, going off of what you're talking about on utility aspect, I mean, runes just has more functionality. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. Casey wouldn't have created them. So, yeah, there's a lot of better ways to transact, and better interaction with ordinals and more characters, and yeah, just a lot more there. So I think we're going to continue to see the runes market take off. Yeah, that's all I got to say, really. In due time, I would love to see BRC20 runes versus DRC20 dunes. But that's a conversation for a couple years down the road. So love the conversation as always. And shout out my Dogeno family down below, Sheepscriptions, and Bitcoiners as well, because we are one and the same.
I hope so, man. My DRC20 bags are quite heavy. I tried to use dunes. There's just no infrastructure anywhere. There's you can't even etch your own dunes without having to open a command center. So it's still a little bit far away, but I think the attention will come to it at some point in time. One thing to note about runes versus BRC20, Casey also said on his recent Hell Money podcast that it's unlikely he's going to add any new functionality to runes. And he's expecting the application layer of runes to build out additional functionality. This means DEXs, lending platforms, right? Anything else. And the reason why was actually kind of interesting, and it's a little bit above my head of how it works, but he said the reason why he's not introducing any protocol level changes is because it introduces MEV on Bitcoin, and he doesn't want to introduce MEV. He actually says in the Hell Money podcast, I recommend everyone to listen to the recent one, because it's just runes based. He says that the BRC swap module that they're building will introduce MEV, and he said it will make a worse experience for everybody. So I thought that was kind of interesting to see. But if you're BRC20, I don't think you really have a choice at this point in time. Your back's kind of against the wall here, unless you fork it and build your own BRC20 standalone protocol, which was something I said. I said this literally when Casey first came out and announced runes. I'd literally go to my timeline. I said that Domo should fork BRC20 and create his own standalone protocol. Didn't happen. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I know he probably wanted to be, honor the initial thing. And yeah, I mean, but it is what it is. I actually just checked on Doggy. There have been 3 sales since the 7th.
Are you talking about Doji?
Doji, yeah, sorry, Doji. 3 sales in the last 5 days. So I mean, but it's still holding on at $1. That's what's for sale. But this is what happens when there's no liquidity. It's like, when there's no liquidity like this at all, people just don't even do anything, right? Like your wallets are forgotten. They're stored somewhere and you're just waiting, right? So when there's no liquidity, you don't even get any down pressure because nobody's even listing lower, because there aren't even any buyers. What should be the actual market cap of Doji right now? Should be $0 million, right? It should drop to basically, but so this is actually, I think in reality, this is actually probably a benefit, right? That there is no liquidity. So you don't get just the drop that you see on Solana, which literally they go down to right at 0, so anyway, yeah, it's just kind of interesting.
Let's hope OKX or something comes back and re-adds DRC20, or continues to rebuild. They were building for DRC20 and they just dropped everything for runes, is what I hear.
Tomorrow's space, man. We'll get to talk to the wallet guys. Maybe we can convince them to add it in.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun conversation tomorrow.
I tried to chime in on their space today, but they're focused on Solana and runes and Bitcoin at the moment, which is sad. But that's why there's such an opportunity on Doge. I mean, you guys know.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna have the My Doge CTO on the show tomorrow, so we'll dive into him and hear what their kind of opinion is about Doginals and everything. So that'll be kind of a fun conversation here. One more thing about BRC20 versus Runes. There's some Runes platforms and application layers that are starting to pop up here. I've seen now 4 or 5 different dexes pop up here, and they're kind of in testing phase. We did have the Fluid Tokens guys on, and they launched their DEX the other day. The unfortunate side is I literally went to it this morning. Here, I'm gonna pull it up here on the live stream. I went over to the DEX today, and I literally tried to swap like $50 in Bitcoin for Dog, and it said it didn't have liquidity. So, the thing is, here, look, there's
Awesome.
Omnisat, Saturn, Magic Eden, Fluid Token, .swap, SwapSats, which was just launched by the Ordinal Egg guys. You have ApeSwap, which is the Runes terminal guys. You have the Runes Dex, which is speculative to be the RSIC guys, right? So you have all these people building, right? Omnisat, etc. But at the end of the day, you still gotta find incentives to attract liquidity. How are you going to get people to LP on your platform, right? And create in this fragmented market. This was a conversation when we were building Omnisat we had for literally months. Was that the incentives and tokenomics of trying to attract liquidity to LP and rewards, and it's not a simple conversation. It is not a simple thing to do. So we have almost 10 dexes that are in testing phases or now publicly live. Maybe 2 of them will track liquidity, and now it comes down to the narrative and the team behind the protocol to attract users to come and play on the platform. What do you think, Dogfather? I know you actually post a lot of information about the Runes infrastructure ecosystem.
Yeah, I think it's still very early, and at the end, I think the already existing large players will have a way easier game. Let's say if Magic Eden is doing that, they have their incentive systems. They just integrate them. They give a 2 times bonus, and then everyone is going there. So as a new player, it's incredibly hard. But besides DEXs, I mean, there have been like a new product like on the DeFi side by the Liquidium team. So since a week or so, you first, I think the top 300 or so could test it, and then the top 1,000. Now it's open to everyone, and they attract quite some volume. So you can now borrow and lend towards, top Runes tokens. So this is gaining traction. So that's interesting. There is another team testing that with Runescence, and there are probably some others I haven't tried yet. So that's definitely something to watch out. And again, you don't see anything like in the BRC20 world in terms of DeFi. So I mean, I'm not a dev, but what I take out of that is that it looks like it's easier to build on the Runes protocol rather than the BRC20. I mean, Jake, right? I mean, BRC20 swaps, Unisat, Omnisat. I think you can tell us some details about how hard tech is, right,
dude,
Adam?
Extremely, dude. When we were building the BRC20 swap, well, granted, okay, I'm not a developer. I was watching, Bunzi and H and Hath and all these guys try to build it, and just being in the conversation of, oh, okay, if we're doing a BRC20 swap, but there's a transfer inscription, right? There's 3 transactions that need to be initiated. You have to write the transaction, then you have to do the swap. But then also, if you want to put a BRC20 in an LP pool, you have to write a transfer inscription to then send it to the LP. But then the LP has to be its own transfer inscription. And right. But then at the end of the day, it's like no one's going to do 3 transactions. So we have to build it all into one automatic transaction. But then you have these stale in transfer inscriptions. How do you consolidate UTXOs? And it is a fucking nightmare.
There's a reason Ethereum took off.
It is a disaster to do these swap modules. This is what I was talking about it before you showed up. Benari and Besson Slot is leading the architecture of BRC20, and their whole thing is trying to put EVM inside of the inscription instead of JSON, or maybe it's compatible or some capacity. And so, if you could do the EVM inside of a BRC20, then it all is self-executing, and it just becomes pretty much the transfer subscription issues no more. Whether they know how to do it, again, then there's trade-offs, right? It's not as much on chain, right? There's trust assumptions and all these different things. It's gonna be tough. BRC20 is in a tough spot right now. And I think part of that, unfortunately, is due to the decentralized kind of objectives that Domo wanted to follow, right? Leave it open to the community. And this is one of those kind of situations where, the Layer 1 Foundation was one that's governing BRC20. Casey is a central leader who just went and built built runes and made all the decisions on his own and deployed it. Whereas BRC20 kind of lagged because there wasn't really anybody who wanted to take initiative to have the conversation on how to improve it. And they just got surpassed is literally what kind of happened. And so now they've realized this and they're saying, okay, now we have to create an alliance. And in this alliance between these three parties, they're going to have to dig themselves out of the hole. Granted, I do like when founders and teams are kind of have their backs against the wall, because they're just the very strong teams will innovate themselves out of it. It's very tough to do, but those are three key kind of leaders in the space who are all very intelligent people who've had their own success in different areas of Bitcoin. But again, it's tough to fight the market, especially this market on Bitcoin that is probably the most decentralized market that you'll find. It's going to be tough, but this is why we play the game and speculate on pizza, right?
Yep, absolutely, man.
At the end of the day,
I mean, it is going to be. We're going to look back in 2 years and just be like, "What was going on?" I mean, it'll be completely clear in hindsight what is now, completely muddy, and there will be winners, man. There will be. I mean, we have some early leaders, but leaders don't necessarily win in the end. We'll see. It's going to be. I think to a degree, it's like, what was I watching the other day? Oh, people were talking about Harambe, right? The Harambe token. But I don't see Harambe memes anywhere. Like, I don't see people like out there shooting that gorilla meme. Like, you should be able to have Harambe memes everywhere. But I don't see that community like pushing the meme, But you mentioned that like Bitcoin glasses or whatever that was, $1 billion
cat. Yeah.
I started seeing that. I didn't even know what it was, right? But it's out there. There's obviously people like involved and, they're working on it and they're doing it, right? And so I see that, and where do you put your money? Who knows? They may fade away too, right? But you gotta look for those, like that core community of people who are gonna like keep talking about this thing, right? And right now the clear winner in that is Dog. Like, honestly, I've never seen that many people talk about something before. So it's gonna be fun to watch.
Dog has it again. I've said this many times. People who listen to the show probably tired of me saying this, but when Runestone flipped Bored Apes, that was, to me, was all I needed to see. I was like, this is a historic movement here.
Yep. And
Leo's done a really good job at leading it. More so for me, he's actually helped me showcase that you can essentially tweet about the same thing over and over and over, and it will still work. Right? For a long time, as a content creator and stuff, you're fearful of putting the same content out because you're like, well, I don't want to bore my my followers. But in this certain area, of meme coins, or just Leo's just that one unique person who's able to do that you can take the same content and just keep repurposing it over and over and over. And for me, that was like one of the also like very aha moments where I was like, okay, this is a new intention kind of manner. And then also it's on Bitcoin, and then the Latin America adoption was quite wild. What do you think, Dog?
I mean, thanks for saying Dog. I mean, at the end, Leo would not succeed if he were alone, right? So, I mean, he's sitting on the shoulders and standing on the shoulders of thousands of people who, became rich, or let's say richer, or due to all these airdrops, right? First the Runestone, and then the Dog token. So this is how you make friends. I mean, just give everyone like 0.1 Bitcoin or so. I mean, it's easy. It's easy to make friends, and he knows that they are loyal and they sit on these bags and they want to pump them, they turn out great content, like super funny memes. I mean, you know, it's dog memes. They always work. I mean, some have some, you know, dank memes. Some are doing videos. I mean, some were, you know, creating really cool animated videos. Some, you know, put together some merch shops and whatnot. So you just repost those guys, strengthen their Twitter, and then you say, follow this person, that person, you know, they shoot up like a few thousand followers. Again, new friends meet. These are very loyal army members, dog army members. It's not Leo alone, and he knows how to coordinate a community. And we have seen with GameStop where this can go. If you have tens of thousands of loyal people who sit on bags, who fight with you, you can win quite some fights in these situations.
Yeah, so I just came across this on my timeline. I'm gonna post here. Speaking of dog, then we're gonna go to the hands. So Lunar Crush, which is the top social intelligence, I guess it's for analytics. They're going live with Leonidas, I think in like the next 5 minutes or so. So if you're a dog fan, maybe check that out, since this is literally the crypto social engagement platform that could seem to be quite bullish.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally.
So,
it's interesting to your point, Jake, about, you know, we're all, you know, on Twitter, we're all kind of KOLs and influencers in our own rights. And that choice to post and really go all in on one type of post is something I know you and I aren't huge fans of, like just from a, God, I don't want to do that perspective, but that is a winning strategy. Like even, you know, TikTokers and people I know, you know, and I know people with tens of millions of followers, they basically have 2 or 3 things that they talk about, and they just talk about those 2 or 3 things, you know, and it, you know, it's surprising, but that's what people want. That way, you know what you're getting, right? When whatever, I might have a political post or you do a post about Vegas or something like that, right? We know those posts don't do well, right? Because it doesn't hit your core group. Your core group just wants to know about whatever, historical NFTs and, you know, meme coins or whatever, you know? So yeah, but good on him for fucking just doing it, man. Cause it is a tough choice. And I'm sure it gets a little bit boring and repetitive for him.
yeah, and you have to push past the cringe, I think is the big thing, right? You're like, I don't want to be cringe. And he pushed past it to build a community, which to me was, again, one of those like big aha moments where I was like, wow, that's actually really possible. So I appreciate everyone for being patient. We're going to go to Tommy, then Devoted right after.
What's up? What's up? Thanks for hosting today. I love my runes. Think Bitcoin's definitely a place to play. I'll be honest with you. The problem I'm having with the space for the last several months has been around the BRC20s and why we're not just getting rid of them or moving them out of the way. So we launch a brand new platform like Runes. It's supposed to be all that, and yet we still fuck around with BRC20s. Why aren't they converting and then just get rid of that whole dumpster pile and just be focused?
I mean, to be honest here, right? You have all of the top BRC20s did leave. They left to Runes, right? Like Wizard, Pups, Pepe did an airdrop. Like a lot of these top teams did. I think the only team that really stayed was Track, to be honest. At the end of the day, you have Unisat, which is an entity that's raised $50 million. They have a business model. They tried to do Runes, it failed, and so now they have to lean back into what their bread and butter was, which was BRC20.
Yeah, I think it's bag holders, man. I mean, you know, we're all bag holders. We all have BRC20s too, right? And you hate to see them go to zero. And obviously there's businesses, to Jake's point, built around it. So yeah, it's bag.
Well, the migration tools weren't really there to make it easy. I mean, some migrated across, but for the most part, everybody just reissued new stuff.
Yep.
And then, you know, I mean, it became less exciting. My biggest issue on the Rune side, I mean, Runes was fun, it was exciting and everything, but you know, Casey was weird, man. What a weirdo! And then basically making the long name like 12 freaking letters long. I'm like, come on, man! It didn't need to be like that. It just was. It was such a missed opportunity. It could have been so much simpler. Nobody has the patience.
I don't disagree. There's a lot to not like about the way Casey rolled it out. There's a lot to not like.
Yeah.
Fucking guy's a weirdo, dude.
Let's just be clear. That collection of NFT, whatever is, you know,
Dude, one Bitcoin floor for those things. The fun collection.
that is the weirdest shit of all time, man. You talk about cringe, bro. That shit is like, you want to call it art?
I mean, you dress up like a tranny and like, well, I don't know what that was about. Like, it's
Bro.
like, get Jenner on there and fucking be weird.
Get Jenner on there.
It's so whack.
But again, it's what I just talked about before with Anson and Tate and all them. Like, Casey does the same thing, right? He does it's a different way. It's a different format, right? He's not calling people racist and stuff, but he does stuff which makes you upset, right? And you being upset is going to cause you to post on the timeline or bitch about it on Twitter Space or whatever, right? But that controversy
is good for media. We know that.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Adam.
Attention economy. You're talking about Leonidas. He just repeats himself endlessly, which is fun. It's like it did work, which is I give him credit. It just shows how little I need to do to like get myself to 1 million followers.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I know Jake and I, we're not like I'm not a controversy guy. I'm not going to lean into controversy, right? So, but you recognize as someone who wants to be, you know, thought about in the space, you're capped. Like, you are not going to move up. You're not going to get 1 million followers if you don't create controversy, right? And you look at somebody who does it really well, like I'd say like Udi does it really, really well.
Yeah.
Which is like a trolling behavior.
Smarter, though. He's
What's that?
super smart.
I don't know. I don't know if I would say he's smarter. Like, if you put like, granted, I'm probably gonna get some hate for saying this. If you put Ansem, who's the top, you know, meme coin caller on Solana, Polly's the top on ETH, and you say like Udi and Casey, they're all quite intelligent people in their own way, and they all drum up controversy in a different way.
100%.
That's like saying Trump's a dumb person, right? You can
hate
him.
I'm sorry, I wasn't implying that. I mean, Udi technically is smarter when it comes to Bitcoin technology. That's all. That's all I was applying.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually fairly well versed in the
he's
fundamentals.
Yeah.
I don't hold that. You know, I don't know who uses it. My wife is always, oh, they're so smart. It's smart. I don't even know what that really means, man. It's like people who can do stuff and make stuff happen. I consider them smart, whether or not they, you know, technically know what's happening. They're able to move the ball. Like, I don't know if Anson is smart, right? I have no idea. He may be a genius, or he may be 100 IQ dude. I literally have no idea, but he's able to move people, you know?
Anson was smart. He was able to go to Asia, pick up a contract to, you know, Poloniex and Justin's son, and pump a bunch of meme coins. Like, I can call that smart. That was actually a really smart way to make money. Good for him. Yeah. But that doesn't make him crypto smart. That's not the same thing as saying that they're builders at the core, you know, actually creating technologies. These are not the same things.
Well, we're so Tom, we were actually talking about this earlier. Anthem is building his own thing. He just announced it. It's called Bullfi. And same with Polly, right? I'm not a big fan of Polly as a person, but he's also had success building a DEX, right? And you have Casey, who I actually was quite critical of when he launched Runes, because he kind of just like stepped on all the BRC20 community who made ordinals popular.
Totally.
But he launched a successful project, right? He proved everyone wrong, and now it's popular, right? So everyone is, you know, intelligent or smart in their own capacity, and they're all builders in respective ways. Although, you know, I have different areas that I don't agree with all these different people, but you can't dismiss the fact that these guys are pretty intelligent people in their own right.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying they're great at getting attention. You know, like right now, if you want to just talk runes for a minute, like there's a project called $1 Billion Cat, right? They're great at marketing right now. They're clearly the better marketing right now of a project that launched way later than everybody else. I mean, they're rune number 72,000, right? Versus like the first guys that got in the first 100. But what they're doing is they're out marketing everybody. Mm-hmm. So they're super smart, in my opinion, compared to others.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. Yeah, $1 Billion Cat. We were talking about that a little bit ago.
There's got to be like one. We could do like a laser eyes one that everybody can put the laser eyes on people. We should do one.
$1 billion laser eyes. There
$1 billion eyes.
Well, you could just jump on Epic, right? I mean, those are the guys. Those guys are pretty deep dev, you know, kind of nerds, but they're fun. They're cool nerds. You know, and it's like they have a cool token out there with Epic. I mean, that would be an easy one just to back. I mean, it's cheap, right?
The thing is, though, this is what we know is that like there are a lot of great people who do a lot of good work, and I don't know who he had on, like 8-Bit, right? Like he's out on Doge and he's working and he's helping people, building websites so you can learn how to do all this sort of stuff. But you realize that when it comes to like a marketing aspect or the ability to convince other people to market or just create something that's a little bit unique, a little bit that's actually it's a super skill. It's like really, really difficult to do. And it's just Casey, for whatever reason, has that skill, right? I mean, like, look, we bought into Casey, 6 months before Runes happened. He talked to us in Discords and stuff, convinced us to have a Twitter space with him, convinced us that this was a good idea, built that relationship with, a core group of people. And when Runes happened, he had that core already built and we broadcast it out and, kind of the rest is history, but he was able to do that. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. And obviously now he's done it twice, which is really hard to do.
But he backed it up with coding, backed it up with skills.
Made it happen.
And I'll be honest with you, had Leonidas and Udi and some of the other guys not rallied around him, he would have fallen flat.
There's no way it would have worked, dude. There's zero question. If he had just launched Runes and made a tweet about it and posted about it, or Ordinals would have never happened, right? He convinced the right, tastemakers or whatever you want to call it, KOLs, that this was going to be something important and cool. And absolutely. Yep.
Well, they forced an issue that needed to be forced. I mean, when we go down to, Nashville here in July, right? It's going to be an interesting shit show because you're going to run into all the traditional guys, from the foundation and whatnot and Bitcoin. Then you're going to run into the exciting media people that are super stoked about whatever, that Jack Mahler is going to talk about. And then you're going to run into some of the newfangled Ordinals or Runes people who, they're trying to fit their space in and see who's friendly and not friendly. And it's going to be a giant fucking shit show around this moment in time where we're going to talk about the ETS. We're going to talk about Runes and Ordinals, and everybody's going to try to grab a piece.
Yeah.
How's that going to go?
We'll find out. It's fun.
We shall find out. All right. Appreciate it, Tommy. We're going to call on some of the other hands here. Devoted, thanks for being patient. What's up? Long time no talk.
Yeah, it's been a while. And so first of all, thanks a lot for hosting the space. And regarding Adam's earlier point, so he said that the meme coin space is getting a bit exhausted as of right now, and that's true up to a certain extent. But like, you can analyze basically all the assets within a bull market of the cryptocurrency space, and then you can see that initially how the market works is initially the Bitcoin is going to rise and the major caps are going to rise. The liquidity is going to flow into those assets, and slowly as the market cap increases of the entire crypto market, the risk appetite of all the market participants increases, and so do the altcoins, and then the meme coins go parabolic. So that's the reason, we've been in the ranging market for a while now, but as soon as the price starts pumping again, well, you're just going to see the craziness back into the markets. All the meme coins are going to go to like $50 million, $100 million within a couple of hours and all that, especially like you saw with Boom. So the Pepe went from like zero to approximately upwards of a $1.5 billion market cap in about a month and a half or so. And Boom did that in like 2 days. That was like some of the most insane price action I've seen in my life. And I was also
so you're not, just to clarify, you're not seeing a slowdown right now. I mean, I'm just going off of, gut feel. So yeah, you're not seeing that slowdown that I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can see like the market goes in phases within a bull market. So at this moment, you can see the price is down, the sentiment is down, and therefore all over the risk sentiment is all down in the market. Therefore, like most of the meme coins, they are doing well, but you're not seeing the extremely parabolic price action within the space. So that's, you could say, like, obviously there's a lot of things that go into this, but that's one of the hypotheses behind like overall why the meme coin space seems a bit exhausted as of right now. And another reason is that so I was like, basically the Super Bowl was in Feb, and then you can see that most of the sports betting websites, they were doing the highest numbers at around that time. And ever since the Super Bowl got over and the sports betting the statistics of the sports betting websites got a bit down, ever since that time, the meme coin gambling space has seen an insane surge in overall the market participants and the volume. So you could say like people just like to gamble, and if it's not going to be sports gambling, it's going to be meme coins.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I also had like one more thing regarding our beloved historical NFTs that are completely like dead 6 feet down into the grave right now. So maybe you guys have heard of Raul Paul. He's one of the big macroeconomic guys, and he's big in crypto as well. And he had a couple of weeks ago, he had launched a slide. It was named the Everything Code, and there he was basically talking about the liquidity cycle, how basically the 4 year business cycle works, and how it coincides with how the Bitcoin cycle works, overall the crypto space, etc. And there he talked about NFTs being trophy assets. So as soon as the market pumps and overall the people, everyone is making a lot of money, they feel like rewarding themselves. And just like secondhand luxury watches can be a trophy asset and secondhand luxury cars can be a trophy assets, NFTs are also a trophy asset in a very similar way. And he analyzed the charts of the market of the second-hand luxury watches alongside NFTs. And the chart was, you could say, about 80% or so correlated to each other, the second-hand luxury watches and the NFTs. So as of right now, they seem like the obviously the liquidity or all the trade volume, etc., is extremely down. But as the market continues to pump and we continue to breach new all-time highs, I believe NFTs are also going to have their run within, you could say, 6 months or so. But yeah, I believe that will happen as well.
Awesome. Love that info. And obviously, Devoted is way more in tune with market cycles and that sort of thing than I am, and much more of a numbers guy than I am. And I did see, I know he was, Paul was collecting some X copies and stuff like that. So he's trying to buy, kind of market bottom on these super high value assets. And I've actually tweeted with him a couple times about like Lost Robbies and stuff like that. So I definitely think, I'm of the same opinion towards, high value historical NFTs as well. You buy the bottoms, right, of these sort of things. And I do believe those will come back. It's going to be interesting to see for sure. Go ahead. Who do we have hands up? Dogs. What's up, man?
Yeah, I just had a question regarding runes. You're able to utilize parent-child in conjunction with ordinals, correct? They're like, there's a way to put images onto runes. Is that possible?
So when you etch a rune, there's an option to inscribe basically the logo or an image that's associated with the rune, but this is only a one-time thing, and then the remaining runes are associated with the supply that you decide to choose when you set the metrics for it.
Okay, so the logo is applied to all of them then.
Yep.
You can't individually. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so this is like when you go on so if you go on like Magic Eden, or I don't know if Magic Eden's the right one. If you go to some of these explorers, maybe like Luminex or Ordiscan, you'll see that some of the runes tickers don't have an image per se, but it is like an emoji or just like a text. Those are the ones who chose to not inscribe an image with the ticker when they etched it, or with the rune.
Makes sense.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, cool guys. I think we're gonna wrap it up here today. It was a fun. People love meme coins. Where we go from here, really tough to know. Sounds like people are really over BRC20, which makes me think maybe it'll be revived at some point. Who knows? I don't know. Pizza's gonna continue to run.
What's your you got to give us your strategy for pizza, man. What's your strategy?
So Sats is at like 600 million. I think it could potentially flip Sats, in my opinion. And then it'll just be like, you'll just have Ordi as the leader for the 4 ticker, which is kind of like the old guard of BRC20.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pizza is the new guard, which is the 5 ticker, which gets all the updates. And it'll be the leader. Maybe Unisat integrates it into their swap platform, because I can guarantee you Sats is not going to be it, because all the updates are coming to the 5 ticker, right? So originally, Unisat said that Sats, the BRC20, was going to be like the feed mechanism for the swap. It's going to be tough to do that when these 4 byte tickers for BRC20 don't get any of the new updates. But I don't know. What do I know, right? I'm not behind the scenes. The only people who really know what's going to happen is Domo, Best in Slot, and Unisat.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you got to look at OKX, because OKX had massive impact into the trading of the BRC20s, and they've just abandoned it for runes. So it just doesn't even show up anymore.
Get it while it's hot. Nobody likes cold pizza.
Bye-bye BRC20. I'm flushing it down the toilet today. I declared it. Runes. No more BRC.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone for joining. If you don't know, Adam, myself, and Chris on stage, we work at Emblem Vault, leading cross-chain NFT protocol in the industry with 100 million in TVV. We host the show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow, we have the My Doge CTO on the show as a guest. We're going to be talking Doginals, a recent support. This is, from my understanding, one of the first interviews from the My Doge team about Doginals. So that'll be a fun conversation. Everyone, please give Emblem Vault a follow. Coming this month, we're going to be releasing the beta stage of Emblem Markets, which is our cross-chain marketplace we've been building and working tirelessly on for the last 8 months or so. Same with the new front end. A lot of fun stuff coming for Emblem V2 starting in July. Make sure that, again, please give Emblem Vault account a follow, and then feel free to reach out to us anytime, and we'll see you guys back tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, stay safe, and the FOMC meeting is starting now, so I guess we'll see if the market continues up or down. Until then, talk tomorrow.